Hello, everybody, and this is Behind the Sound, and we have a band in called Human Missile Crisis, and you guys are from Dartmouth, right?
Yes, yeah, we're from Dartmouth, yeah.
Great. So we're gonna get a little introduction and figure out about these guys. So the first question is, give us the background on music in your, personally in your life, and when you knew you wanted to make music.
Yeah, so, hi, I'm DJ Vaters from Human Missile Crisis. I play guitar and sing in the band. Earliest influences, probably, a lot of the stuff that my parents listened to. So my dad was big on bringing me up on Kiss and Supertramp, Kiss, Deep Purple, that sort of stuff. Then my parents bought me my first 2 CDs, which was Metallica and Justice for All, and Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. And at the time, I thought I was going to be a big Metallica fan, but I actually ended up loving Alanis's record more than the Metallica record. So that kind of gave away. Now that I think about it, that was probably foreshadowing of the type of music that I would lean more into growing up. Like I played in punk rock and metal bands, but leaning more towards into rock music, and garage rock was kind of more my style. But yeah, I would say earliest influences probably back then would have been Kiss for sure. And then after that, when I was in junior high, we started getting into bands like Refused, Thrice. I was big into Raised Fist, a lot of hardcore from Sweden. Yeah, and then I'm kind of all over the place with my influences, really. I'll go anywhere from listening to Wu-Tang Clan one day to Tom Waits the next day to, Dillinger Escape Plan, 9 Inch Nails after that. Actually, 9 Inch Nails is a really big influence of mine.
I love them.
Oh, God, yeah.
So actually that leads into a little bit of the next question. What is the one childhood band that actually, changed your view on music?
Childhood band that changed my view on music? Well, I don't know how far back into the childhood we would go, but I do remember what a big thing for me was when Woodstock 99 was playing live on the satellite dishes, and my parents, we had one of those illegal cards so you could get the DirecTV for free or whatever. And when Woodstock 99 was playing, a lot of the bands that played on that kind of really opened my eyes up to what music and how powerful it actually could be to see them playing in front of that massive crowd. I remember seeing Godsmack play the song Moon Baby, and then when the camera just pans out and showed the audience moshing, and it was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people moshing to that track, I was like, wow, this is awesome, kind of thing, right? And then
I remember that event.
Yeah,
I wish
growing up I was I was one of those kids where the rap rock was kind of coming into to its popularity. So Limp Bizkit and Korn and that sort of stuff was really big and popular. I would consider Limp Bizkit being to this day I still love Limp Bizkit. I really do. But seeing that back when I was a kid just really I thought they were just cool as hell, even though now they're well, they're still cool. I still like Limp Bizkit. As more so outside of that, though, that was just kind of me being young and watching things on TV. But it really wasn't until we started playing shows with our first band. So I was 14 years old when we first started playing in that band. Within our first 2 years, we ended up sharing the stage with the band Protest the Hero. And we got to open for Protest the Hero probably 5 or 6 times with our old band. That was called Violent Theory. And yeah, around that time when we saw Protest play live, that's when we really realized whoa, what we're writing is small potatoes compared to what these guys are writing. And they were our age. We were all peers, right? So then we kind of started watching them and learning from them. And then over time, seeing an opening for Ontario bands like Closet Monster, Bombs Over Providence, Protest the Hero, all these old underground operations bands that are on that independent label, they really opened my eyes up to what we could be writing versus what we were writing. So yeah, I guess double part answer. One was younger, watching stuff on TV, especially around the Woodstock 99 time. And then when we first started playing shows with our old band, it was just all those Ontario punk rock bands that came down to the East Coast that we got to open for that really, really made us like reconsider our writing process and what styles of music we were writing and what we really loved. One of my other favorite bands from back then was a band called Wheels on the Bus, and they're still kicking it out now too. But you know, yeah, Wheels on the Bus for sure was a band that I absolutely adored.
Yeah, I actually think you and I were listening to your like history. We're pretty close in age. I'm 45.
Okay, yeah, I'm
because
38.
You were listing off a lot of the bands, but we used to have a show here in Nova Scotia called Valley Palooza, and it was all the metal independent bands that would come to that. And I just remember that was like some of my best. That was actually like a life changing me. And that's when I really got into the local scene, was when I went to the Valley Palooza as a teenager.
Right.
And realized our local scene was just as good as the mainstream. That's kind of when I got into the local stuff, was when, and a lot of those bands were playing the Valley Palooza. So that's funny how, like, I'm pretty sure I probably listened to you guys at one point.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I went from being like that mainstream kid who was like watching like Much Music or whatever and being a Limp Bizkit fan and Korn fan and that sort of stuff, to realizing that there were all these underground bands that we were only exposed to them because we were opening for them. And then we were exposed to them because they were bringing these other bands on tour with them. I remember there was bands like The End, The Reason, Farewell Freeway, Wheels on the Bus, Bombs Over Providence, Closet Monster, Protest the Hero. Those were all bands that when we got to meet them, share the stage with them, and watch what they do, it really impacted us and changed what we did, especially what I did. And back then, I was the drummer of the band. I wasn't even playing guitar or singing in that band. I was the drummer. My drummer now, Matt, he was the guitarist of that band, and the bassist of Human Missile Crisis. He was also in that band as well. But yeah, we all kind of grew up opening for these Southern Ontario hardcore punk rock bands, and through that whole scene and the connection between Ontario and those bands coming to Atlantic Canada is where we really got to learn what the Canadian underground scene was putting out there, what it was really all about.
No, I totally agree. I said I grew up on that right around the same age when you were playing. I was listening, and that's when I realized just how great our underground scene was. Because until then, I was listening to mainstream, and then my friend brought me to Valley Palooza. And that's when I'm like, wow, like, this is great stuff. Like, so yeah, it's funny. I think we probably, like I said, I'm sure we crossed paths while I was listening and you were playing at that point.
Well, and we were, so we're all Cape Bretoners. We all live in Dartmouth now. We've been living in Dartmouth for over a decade, almost 2 decades for Matt and Justin. So back then it was all Cape Breton. We were all, so it was Gobblefest and Stoked for the Holidays were the 2 underground music festivals that happened in Cape Breton. And so all these bands, when they would tour down, when they'd get their Sydney dates, that's where we'd open for them in Sydney. So we weren't playing up here with that old band on mainland. I think we did one show in like Guysborough County or something like that, and then we did a tour to Ontario and back. But never that band never played Halifax or the Valley. It was all mostly Cape Breton Island shows.
Okay, so the next question will be, give us a history on your band and how you guys were formed.
So it all goes back to 2003. We all started playing in a band called Violent Theory. It was one of those bands that we wanted to be in a band, and we had the band name before any of us had instruments or knew how to play. It was kind of one of these things where Matt got a guitar, or other guitarist Matt got a guitar. They were trying to get this guy to play drums for them named Daniel. And my parents I always wanted to play drums in a band, so I was always bugging my parents to get me a drum kit. They finally bought me a drum kit for Easter one year when I was 13 or 14 years old. And then I knew these 2 guys were trying to start a band, so I messaged them. I was like, hey, I got a drum kit now. Let's do this Violent Theory thing that you guys keep talking about. And so we started into that. Then we harassed Justin's mom to buy him a bass guitar for Christmas one year. He wanted an Xbox. She ended up buying him a bass, so he was disappointed, but we were happy that she listened to us and not him, and got him a bass guitar for Christmas. And then we just kind of started right away with writing some original punk rock songs. And then that band, we were horrendous. We were terrible. People hated us on the CB Locals guest book. They used to talk shit about us all the time. And then somewhere over the next 5 years, we got good, I think it was mainly because of opening for all these bands and seeing those bands like Protest the Hero, like I said, that helped influence what we were writing. So when we started writing some pretty good songs, got pretty popular, ended up doing a bunch of good gigs. Like we opened for Alexis on Fire, like I said, Protest the Hero a number of times. And then we went on a tour, released one record with that band, but we were young. And then we were kind of from there, from the time I was 14 until the time I was about 20, 21. That's when we realized that we needed real jobs. And so we all kind of had our own ideas of where we wanted to go to work and how we wanted to live our own lives. And the band broke up. We did a reunion. We're all still good friends with the other guy, Matt. And then, after that, I kind of moved out of that scene. I went into electronic music production. I was doing DJing and writing my own sort of electronic music that was similar to Chemical Brothers, Nine Inch Nails sort of stuff. Also playing drums in another punk rock band and another rock band. And then somewhere along the lines, I decided to move up to Dartmouth when I was 26, maybe 26, 27 years old. At that time, Matt and Justin, my rhythm section, they had already been living in Dartmouth themselves as roommates for a number of years. They formed a duo, a garage rock band called Elk Lodge, and they were playing up in the Halifax scene for a couple of years before I even moved up here. And then when I got up here, I was just jamming around with a couple of different people because I was living in an apartment. That's where I really started playing a lot more guitar because I couldn't play my drums in the apartment. Started writing some songs and had some other people that were working on the songs with me, but they were not as dedicated to the cause as I wanted them to be. Plus, the whole time I wanted Matt and Justin to be in the band. I was just afraid to ask them because they're my best friends and I didn't want them to say no. So at one point in time, then Matt asked me, he was like, hey, why don't I just drum for your Human Missile Crisis project? And then from then, when Matt started drumming, Justin came on board again, and the three of us were back together, just like we were, 14 years old again. And that kind of all started happening around 2017, 2018. And then Human Missile Crisis, we started playing our first shows again together in 2019. Got a good bit of traction going in that first year, but then COVID came and shut everything down. And then everybody had to kind of hunker down and buckle down for a little bit. And then when that all cleared up, we hit the pubs again, Gus's Pub and that sort of thing, and started building it back up again. Yeah, now with the band's just kind of in full swing. We're like a well-known, full local band. People know we do our 1 gig a month sort of thing around the Halifax, Dartmouth area, hitting places like, we do a lot of Woodside Beverage Room, do a lot of Gus's Pub, Seahorse a couple of times. Our biggest show so far, we just got to open for Propagandhi, main stage at the Marquee. And yeah, now we're just kind of back in it here in Halifax, and we call this our home base now. But yeah, we're all friends, longtime friends. We've been friends since elementary school, right? Like my drummer, I've known him since preschool or whatever you call it, grade primary. So we're long time friends, and we just kind of went up through the band's progressed through the whole punk rock and angsty teen youthful punk rock scene, and then over the years we've matured into writing this more sort of fleshed out rock music. I guess it still has its punk rock influences, but we're basically just a bunch of friends that met many years ago, played in bands together, then went our own ways for a couple of years, and now we're back together again.
That's actually a pretty cool story. I think that's actually really cool history. The next question is, what is the process you use to come up with lyrics, and what influences your choice of words?
Well, pretty much. So when I first came up with the concept for Human Missile Crisis, I came up with it when Barack Obama was the president, and during that time, it was also the rise of drone technology, where they were using drone strikes. And then I found out that Barack Obama, everybody was saying, he was one of the greatest presidents in history. But if you were to look at it at the times, he actually pulled the trigger and killed more people than any other president in U.S. history up until that point in time. And that was specifically had to do with drone strikes, where that was the new technology on the rise. So that's where I kind of come up with the term human missile crisis. And the idea at the time was I was trying to write political style music that had a commentary on what was going on. But I was forcing myself to write that sort of style of music, and it wasn't coming natural to me. And then I started writing more personal style lyrics just about, toxic relationships, breakups, substance abuse, all that sort of stuff. And then I kind of leaned more into that, realizing that human missile crisis, the human nature of it, could actually be personal based lyrics. It didn't have to be politically motivated commentary on what's going on in the day-to-day life of, the war effort or whatever's going on there. So I got away from writing that sort of stuff, and next thing you knew, I had a full album written of a lot of personal music to me. And so basically a lot of it is me sitting down with a guitar, coming up with a riff. I got a couple of little ideas for what I'm singing about, or a couple of little lines or something like that. And then now the way it works is I take that, I bring it into a rehearsal space with Matt and Justin, show them what we got, and it just kind of evolves from there. In our band, there is no, you play this, no, I don't want that beat, you play this beat instead, or no, play this bass line or anything like that. We're all very much like, okay, well, what if we do this? What if we try this? Like, I'll bring a riff to Matt, and in my head, it's a straight, fast punk rock beat, and he'll come up with some sort of mid-tempo weird groove that is completely outside of what I was planning the song feel to be. But then I'll build off of that, and then we'll run with that sort of idea, and it takes the song and it completely changes the direction of where it's going to go. And that is kind of where we're at with everything right now. It's very much I show up, usually I got a riff, couple of words, we'll lay it down, then we just kind of see where that takes us. Other times I just have a riff and no words at all, and then I just start playing, and when we're into it, something will come to me right there on the fly. I'll sing that. We're usually recording our sessions, so then I go back to my voice recorders on my phone or whatever, and then build it from there. So it's a combined mix of everything. We're all bringing a little something to the table, or we're just kind of channeling into the inspiration that hits us in that moment. Some of our songs that, like one of our most recent ones that we just released, Snake in the Grass, that one was very much just a right then and there, all in the room. The riff that came to me was just something that I made up right on the fly when we were jamming. So we're kind of a bit of all over the place. There's no real set method to our songwriting structure. It's just all very much collaborative effort.
So that leads into the next question is, do you experience writer's block? And if you do, how do you overcome it?
Oh my God, yeah. All the time. It's the bane of my existence. I don't know. It's a weird thing to overcome. I have a weird philosophy with, it's not your standard typical type of, how do I want to say this? Basically, I believe that inspiration is something that is always there. I think it's always around us. It's always something that we have the ability to access. And it's not necessarily that, in a way, yeah, you're coming up with things, but I feel like sometimes it's more so that there's this like thing that you can channel into that's outside of us. I don't know if I don't want to be like spiritual or anything like that, but I don't know. I just feel like the inspiration is always there, and sometimes when you're looking for it, you can't find it, and then other times you're not looking for it at all, and then things just sort of pop into your head. So with writer's block, I mainly just try to not think about it. I try to just live my life and kind of just hope that something will come to me at some point in time, and when it does, then I'm there with a pen and a piece of paper, my voice recorder, I'm talking into it, into that sort of thing. But yeah, like there was a time when I was going through a pretty bad writer's block, and I hadn't written anything in a couple of months. And then one day, I was just home mid-afternoon having some drinks on my day off. Was home by myself, just playing around with the guitar. And my buddy messaged me, and his brother had passed away a number of years ago, and he messaged me and let me know, and he was like, "Hey, did you know that it was 5 years today that Charles passed away?" And I was like, "Wow, man! Like, this is a guy that he was also my bassist's first cousin. He was one of my best friends, and was growing up with him, just like over the years, and bummed to find out that he had passed. Anyways, his brother messaged me, let me know that it's been 5 years, and I was having some drinks and just talked to him about Charles and about the good old days. And as soon as I stopped texting him, I picked up my guitar and I wrote Blackwater. And the riff and the words, the entire song came to me in 2 minutes. Like, the song is maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds long, and that song just, I don't even think I wrote it. I think it just came to me, like it was like given to me. And I don't really know, like I literally wrote that song in the amount of time it takes to listen to that song. The only thing that I had to flesh out in it was I had to write one more verse, and I had to write the bridge. And then that was just, writing the bridge was just one jam with my drummer. And he was like, oh, when we hit on that chord, we'll ride on that chord for a couple of seconds, and then we'll go into the bridge. And it was just like a little second piece. Wrote that, and yeah, so writer's block, I don't have any set method of getting through it, but I do know that when I have been in it, when I come out on the other side of it, it's some of the best songs I've ever written. Yeah, it's a tough one. I hate writer's block. It's a tough one.
The next question is, an underrated band or artist you think should get more recognition?
God, there's so many. Underrated band. Well, I don't think they're underrated, but there is a excellent band based out of Toronto now that I'm friends with. I was up for a Queens of the Stone Age concert, and usually what I do is when I go travel for a show, I'll spend a weekend there and I'll try and hit a local show the next day after the big concert or something like that. So I ended up finding this band, meeting them. They were called Chinese Medicine, and Chinese Medicine I'm a big fan of. Really love Chinese Medicine. So yeah, they have a great track called Acetone. And if you listen to that track, you're gonna have it stuck in your head for weeks, because it's just got a great chorus to it, got a real great hook. So yeah, Chinese Medicine for sure is a band that is definitely flying under people's radar. Local band in Halifax, my favorite local band right now is a band called Hush Metal. We do a lot of shows with Hush Metal. They're buds of ours. Any chance I can go and catch them, even if we're not playing with them, though pretty fortunate because most of our shows are together, so I get to see them quite a bit. They're going to be playing with us at the end of December. So yeah, Hush Metal for local, for Canadian, Chinese Medicine. And then right now, listening to, let me think, I like Wipers a lot. Wipers is kind of like a garage rock band. They started back in the 80s. They're pretty popular. They used to play with like Nirvana and stuff like that. And Wipers is big. I'm a big fan of Wipers. They're not quite that popular, so I think they're pretty underrated.
The next question is, how do you feel about the music industry today?
Hate it. Hate everything about it. Cannot stress my distaste for the music industry today, especially with the rise of streaming. If you had somebody stream your track 1 million times, that's the equivalent to selling 100 CDs at $10. You know what I mean? To have 1 million people listen to your music and receive the revenue of you selling 100 CDs is just disgusting. And it's always been bad. You know, back to when Napster first started coming in, a lot of people would make fun of Metallica for them taking Napster to court. And then now we look at it and everybody's like, well, man, I guess Lars really kind of was onto something back then, because the industry is completely in disarray now. But that is, you know, the whole business side of it, I despise. I hate the streaming side of it, you know, but it's unnecessary evil, I guess, in order to get your music heard. As much as people hate Spotify, and people are pulling their music off of Spotify. Spotify is where 90% of our listeners listen to our music. So I kind of am in this position where it's like, you know, I don't really want to contribute to anything that Spotify stands for, but I also don't want to take music away from people who are listening to our music actively on that platform. So I kind of just roll with it and stick to that. As far as it goes with, you know, in our local scene, I don't really have any issues with our local scene. You know, I'm not a big fan of the organizations like East Coast Music Awards or Music Nova Scotia, mainly because I just see them do a lot of things for bands that are part of like a social circle and that part of like a friend circle, versus there's all these other artists that are hardworking artists that put the time in, that don't get any recognition whatsoever. I see it happen again and again and again where, like, you know, this new band applies for a showcase that's never played a show, and they get a showcase because they're friends with people on the board, versus a band that's been going for a decade and still hasn't received any sort of recognition or a showcase or that sort of thing. We kind of messed with that for a little while, applying for showcases and working with Music Nova Scotia, or trying to work with Music Nova Scotia and the ECMAs, and then it just kind of got to the point where it's the writings on the wall is that they don't support loud music for the most part. If you're a punk rock band or you're a metal band, you are sort of bottom of the list when it comes to that sort of thing, unless you're, you know, friends with people in higher places. And so I don't really subscribe to any of that anymore. We've stopped working with them. We've stopped applying for any sorts of grants, any sorts of showcases. Everything that we do is 100% DIY, and we're just kind of working that angle now, which is much more gratifying in my personal opinion. Now, that's not to say that they don't do good things for artists in the area, because they most definitely do. It's just not as widespread as I would like to see it. And there's definitely room for improvements in both organizations, and I just don't see them. I don't see them making active attempts to improve. They've just kind of been doing the same thing for, you know, as long as they've existed. But yeah, I started. I was for a long time, but then I stopped. And it's funny because I stopped, and now I get emails asking us to apply. I'm like, no, why would I do that? Because I've done it for however long now, and it's just a waste of time. Or maybe we'll do it again if a showcase comes. If the next one is in Halifax or something like that, I might try and apply or something. But they see this interview, they probably will not be picking us anyways. But I really don't care.
Around, maybe they will, because you called them out on their lack of punk and metal showmanship.
Yeah, there's
a huge scene here. It should be in the awards more than it is. And I do agree with you, because you don't really see your guys' bands in those shows. You see more mainstream art, what they consider mainstream genres. But we have a huge metal and punk scene here, so that should be reflective in the awards.
Absolutely. They don't even, they had to, people I know in the scene had to fight just to get a Loud award, you know? And now the Loud award is mostly a joke. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth the time. I'm more of a bigger fan of building your own scene, you know, and that's kind of what we did here. In Halifax. Like I said, now we're coming into our third annual end of the year. Every year we do a end of the year big banger, a party at the Woodside Beverage Room. So this year it's going to be on December 20th. We sold out the last 2 years, hoping to sell it out again this year. And it's just putting on shows like that. That's where I love doing that sort of stuff. And I love our scene. I love all of my friends in the scene, the bands that I love. We really got a special one here. It's just, unfortunately, the nature of the music industry that surrounds us is a bit of a hot dumpster fire. So, but that doesn't stop me from playing fun shows, you know? I
think that's pretty true everywhere, though. We've discussed the music industry, and not any artist that's been on has anything good to say about it. You're not the only person. Okay. Right?
Well, that's good to know. That's good to hear.
So actually, that kind of leads into the last question, which is any upcoming events or projects that we should be aware of. So you just kind of went over it. So do you want to specify?
Yeah. So we're in the midst right now of releasing a 2-song mini EP. It's called Waste Away. The first track is out now. It's called Snake in the Grass. The next track drops on this Friday. It's called Mona Lisa. So that will complete the 2-song mini EP. We did it in a way that kind of shows you two sides of the band. So Snake in the Grass is more like dancey, fast, fun, punk rock, and the Mona Lisa track is a little more singer-songwriter, storytelling kind of vibe, and has more of rock feel with some punk rock influences, a heavy punk rock chorus. So that's coming out. Then shortly after that releases, we'll have a video for Mona Lisa coming out to pair up with the video that we just released for Snake in the Grass. And then that leads us into December, Saturday, December 20th at the Woodside Beverage Room. $15 at the door, no advance tickets, just pay at the door. We're playing with Designosaur, Hush Metal, and Cursed Arrows. And then that's the end of 2025. And then 2026, we don't have anything booked just yet. That will change probably in the next couple of months. or the next month or so. But right now, the main plan is to just kind of buckle down, work on the next couple of new songs that we have. We have a whole album of material ready to go. We just want to have another 2 or 3 new songs to add to that list. And out of that, we have those 2 or 3 songs right now are kind of anywhere between 50 to 70% complete. So we're just gonna buckle down, finish up those 3 new songs, and then we're going back into the studio with Jamie Folds at the Sound Park Studios on Cape Breton Island. And when we do that, that is going to be probably do 2-3 full days there at the studio, and we're going to go in and record our follow-up album. So it'll be a full, probably shooting for 10-11 tracks on that one. And so these 2 new songs that we just dropped will give you also an idea of the quality of the recording, because we're going back to the same studio. So what you hear in these 2 new songs here, you can expect that sort of quality as well with the next record.
Well, again, that kind of nicely leads into the next portion, which is the song portion. Since we mentioned it, do you mind if I play the Snake in the Grass one?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, okay, so really sure. I'm kind of excited to listen to it now that you talked about it. So we actually do an intro. So if you just want to give even a little bit more of an intro to this song while I'm loading it up.
Yeah. So this is Snake in the Grass. It is a song about, those friendly people to your face that stab you in the back. And, written, partly inspired by a little hike I took through a vineyard in Soyuz, British Columbia, where there are rattlesnakes in Canada there. So this is Snake in the Grass.
All righty, we'll give this a listen.
Slither under your skin. let them in.
I think you're muted.
Hold on.
There
we
you
go.
are. Cool.
I can get that part out. My first impression when I listen to you guys is literally like I got a Sum 41 feel, but with a little bit more punk influence to it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Sum 41 was one of those bands back when we were younger, right? We loved the Sum, especially Half Hour Power, All Killer No Filler, those first two records. Loved those. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got to feel like you don't sound like, but it feels like you could have come from that era. Do you know what I mean? Like from that, when those type of bands were big. Sum 41's the first one that comes to mind, but there was a whole sound that come out, and there was multiple bands that kind of had that. But I mean, you can still feel the more punk influence in your songs, though.
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hold on here. So you had mentioned Blackwater as well.
Yeah, there's Blackwater. The Blackwater
I think it's just
video is just like a lyric video, though. It's nothing too exciting.
Okay, so is there another song that you want us to play? The one that maybe you suggest?
You could do the Liquor Store Stories music video. Is pretty cool.
Okay, there it is right there. That's the live one, but there's a music video too? Okay, let me just go.
There is an official video, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to maximize this and I'll find it. Videos, okay. Oops, videos here. I just got to find it. For some reason it's not Blackwater video. Oh, there it is. Got it.
There you go.
Pause and I'm going to share the screen. Do you want to give a little intro to this?
Sure. So, Liquor Store Stories is probably, I think, one of our best songs. It's one of my favorite songs to play live. We usually always close with this one. This is the end set closer. Yeah, and this one's just kind of commentary on a toxic relationship that I was in the past that I was able to break away from, and me and an ex of mine back then, we were in a bad place where we were both pretty heavy into the booze and jealousy is not a winning combination, and yeah, so it's basically just sort of some commentary I had on a toxic relationship that I was in and broke away from it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna give this a play. your guitar playing is wicked. Really nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it comes across that way because I definitely don't feel that it is. But
I noticed it in both songs. I definitely noticed your guitar playing was really wicked. So I really appreciate you coming on today and giving us your time and letting us get to know you a little bit more. And so thank you.